All right, it's the Super Centex After Dark slash over easy because we're filming on a Saturday morning. Some of us haven't even been awake that long.
It feels like I dropped you off about 10 minutes ago,
That's
Bryce.
true. It does feel like that. I'm eating my breakfast, and y'all are just gonna have to deal with it. But uh, yeah,
Bryce and I, by the way, found the best brunch spot yesterday, right by our
yes, that
hotel
was
in
really
in
good. We had
Richardson.
we had an amazing brunch breakfast, thing.
We
I mean,
both had breakfast food. You had pumpkin
I
pancakes,
did have pumpkin pancakes, and they were legit.
and I had a create your own omelet.
This
So,
this is always a good sign, y'all, when you make your order and she goes, "Oh, you know what's up."
Yep. Yep.
And I was like, "Okay, that's a good sign." So, yeah, it's been a busy week, busy weekend. Michael will see his third football game in 3 days later today, when he goes and covers the University Trojans against Bastrop, the Bastrop Bears. Um, but let's just get into it. A lot of playoff action. DJ, you were at the Crawford Kennedy game last night. Um, and Crawford saw its season come to a close, but it looked like it was a good, hard fought game. I mean, what were kind of your takeaways?
Um, they, I think it really was just that Kennedy outsmarted them on special teams, and then Crawford just kind of they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get the ball going. They couldn't really get the ball in the air, and
wait, hold on. Unpack that special teams advantage a little bit because that's a pretty bold statement to say they got
yeah,
outsmarted.
okay. So throughout the entire first, nobody scored in the first quarter.
Hmm.
But then Kennedy was just their punting was really strong. They have a really good punter, number
Hmm.
nine, Delia Salas. And I didn't put him in my story because I don't know if it's his brother, his cousin, or something.
Hmm.
David Salas, who was their main go-to running back and was just
Hmm.
grinding, churning out really short runs, but positioning them in a spot where they would then go get that first down. And it was
Hmm.
methodical, you know, and
Hmm.
especially
Hmm.
in the fourth, because Crawford had the ball, I think, with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they were putting together a good drive. And then it kind of just fell apart. Like they couldn't find the pass. They could and I don't think it's because Kennedy was that much bigger than them in the trenches, but they were just very physical.
Hmm.
And yeah, no, but on special teams, that really good punter was sending him back into the field, and then they would go and at the end of the first half, they had 40 seconds left to because Kenny had just scored to get ahead on Crawford fumbled
Hmm.
at their own five. Because that was another thing. It was gosh, I feel like I'm telling everything out of order. It's still so early in the morning.
It's all right.
So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. End of the first quarter, Kennedy positions himself at midfield, to start their drive at midfield. They get a really long pass to get into the red zone. And then from there, it was one really short, really nice run long, and then pass for the touchdown, right? And then I think they had to redo it because there was a penalty on Crawford for something. Ended up getting that touchdown anyway. Um, and then Crawford goes, they punt, they give it back. They kind of trade drives, nothing happens there. No, actually, lies. Crawford goes on a really long run where they screen uh Kid Carroll. It felt like the entire offense was just surrounding him, and he goes on a really long run, and then it took them a couple tries, they get the touchdown. So now it's tied again. But then they trade punts, and Kennedy goes and pushes Crawford back to their own 5 yard line. First play of that drive, Jackson Huey fumbles the ball, and Kennedy recovers it like 2 yards away from the goal line and they score. And so then it's like late in the first half, um, another like really nice kick. So they're back, in their own territory, close to their goal line again, and on the punt, they fumbled it. Like they Crawford, like somebody touched the ball, and so then Kennedy goes and tries to grab it. It like spins out, it goes out of bounds, and so then they're like basically at their goal line. They end up just like not doing the drive,
Well,
and
yeah, I mean, I think
yeah.
we've all watched enough football to see that field position can be a big, big factor in a game. And I think with high school kids, when they have a short field, it's like their eyes light up, you know.
Hmm.
But when they have 97, 98 yards to go, yeah, and especially like you said, in a situation maybe where they have 40 seconds left or whatever, you know.
Hmm. I
Uh,
think Crawford opened the third quarter, couldn't do anything with it, and there was a high snap on the punt, and they lost it. And when they recovered it, it was like deep in like their red zone. It was like the 15-yard line. And so then, uh, the Lions go and they get the go-ahead score. And at that point, it was just like, okay, Crawford trying to like get back into a position where they can stay in the game, and Kennedy kind of just churning out, short runs, short passes, trying to like they're eating up the clock. That the last 5 minutes of the game, I'm just like, this game is over. Like I was kind of just. It wasn't that I didn't think Crawford didn't have it in them to come back. They did have almost have a pick six that got called back because of offsides.
mm.
But it was just a lot of those little things of like you get penalties in places you shouldn't be getting penalties. You've got, you're letting your quarterback get like sacked or pressured at the point where you need him to throw the ball the most. Their Kennedy's secondary was like glued to anybody that could have caught that ball.
Mm.
And like I said, like their O-line, I don't think outmatched Crawford's in size, or maybe even strength. They were just like really stocky.
Well, I think, we've seen some really good teams that a special teams mistake or two will hurt.
Hmm.
And if you can execute that thing really well, it can really turn a game in your favor. But it's like, I think as a fan, when you're watching, special teams is a razor thin thing. Like the guy that sits beside me at Texas Tech football games, and whenever there's a punt return, he was like, well, why'd he catch it there? Catch that ball. You better catch that ball. Well, why'd he catch it there?
Yeah,
Hmm.
and you try making that catch with a bunch
Yeah.
of guys
Exactly.
barreling down on you, and you're like, should I fair catch it? Should I not fair
Right.
catch
hmm
Hmm.
There's a lot
it?
going through your mind in those moments. I mean,
Gosh,
Yeah.
it just occurs to me that none of us saw a win last night. It's kind of a bummer.
True, true. Well, DJ talked long enough that I could finish my breakfast, so that's good. Uh, I also have to get my joke in that I came up with.
hmm
Okay, so
Can't wait to see where this goes.
yeah, I did this actually just for you. Um, so I appreciate all of y'all hopping on the podcast this morning because this little joke is one that a part-time photographer could appreciate. If it had just been me here talking, do you know what kind of podcast that would be? That would be a monopod.
nice.
Chad was toting around his monopod last night.
Well, and I was kind of holding it like I might hit you with this some of the time this weekend,
Ah, yes.
because
Ah,
there
yes.
are lots of people to fight with. Rod always tells me not to get in a fight, and Bryce and I walk up to the state volleyball uh, tournament, state finals on Thursday, and there's this guy standing there just outside the door, and Bryce reaches and grabs the handle, and it's locked, and the guy goes, "That's why it's a line."
And
And
he's
I
one
just thought,
guy. He's
and I
one
just
guy
thought,
standing there.
all
And
right, we just got here and already somebody to fight with.
Good Lord.
And then we said, there's a line. And he goes, well, there is now.
Jeez.
That was pretty funny. That was
The
funny.
Colwell Center is ripe with fighting opportunities. Let me just
Oh,
say
that's
that.
true. Yeah, we could tell some stories. Well, Chad, obviously we can break down the Chilton game together, but and then
It's no breaking down about it. We were sitting there in the stands before it started. You and I, we were there an hour early, and we see this very fine-looking gentleman with his arm in a sling and gray sweatsuit on, and we
That's
said to each
unfortunate.
other, "Is that Marnico Thomas?"
and then Chad
And
starts Googling Marnico, and we're looking at the picture, and we're like, boy,
Yep.
it
That's
definitely
him.
looks like Marnico.
and
And I
then there
mean,
was some,
how many
yeah,
6'3" guys does Chilton
Right.
even have? You know?
right.
Right.
And there was some very nice fans from Chilton there, and I really respect that they just told us, what had happened, and they were all seemed to be happy and joyful, even though they knew that their team didn't have much of a chance. They told us that 5 starters were out. Coach Hewitt told us that 7 starters were out. But I really
Golly.
enjoyed visiting with those folks and talking about past Chilton teams, and we talked a little bit about Gabriela Dominguez, former great Chilton golfer who I got to see inducted in the Texas Tech Sports Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was
Yeah,
it was really
Gabby
cool. I mean,
Gabby won
when you think
four
of, go ahead,
straight.
Bryce.
Yeah,
Yeah,
won 4 straight state championships at Chilton in high school.
Dang.
and this is I feel like this is part of it because if you took all of our area teams and you said what school is going to produce a great golfer, right? And I think that's what's such a great story about it is because you wouldn't have said Chilton. That's where a 4-time state champion
Right.
girls golfer is going to come from. But that
Correct.
that was the Gabriela Dominguez story.
Yeah,
Wow.
as far as the 2025 Chilton Pirates story, as Chad said, obviously the loss of Marnico was tough. And then I think Xavier Taylor may have gotten a little banged up in the game. He played only a half, had 95 yards rushing in a half, um, but didn't carry it in the second half. And I saw him kind of holding his shoulder after the game. Um,
His
so
first touchdown, he really had a collision with that
yeah,
shoulder at
yeah.
about the
But
1 yard line,
here's
really.
the thing. I mean, Mount Enterprise, um, even fully healthy, I think it would have been a really good game.
Oh, yeah.
But with Chilton a little, banged up, so Mount Enterprise, if you don't know, has a kid, Kagan Ash. He's going to
Oh,
Texas
he's
Tech.
unreal. Yeah, he's
Chad's
unreal.
excited about that. I'll just say it. He's a white guy running back, which, okay. But man, he's fast and he is.
And when you think about it, you got a Gen Z kid from Mount Enterprise chasing the Sugarland Express, Kenneth Hall, for the
Which
most rushing yards in Texas high school
a,
football
a
history.
record that has stood now for 70 plus years.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Over 11,000 rushing yards, and this kid's, within range. It's still going to take quite a finish to the season.
I don't think I mean if they win the state championship, he could get it. But if they do that and he gets within a couple hundred yards, I mean, because he had 1 carry in the second half last night. He could have gone
Wow.
for 400 last night
Yeah,
pretty
they
easily.
did, and I thought they wisely sort of shut him down. They didn't have to play him. So just a little bit about the game. I mean, first of all, Chad, have you ever seen a crazier opening kickoff? I mean, so
Hey,
oh,
to my credit, I got a photo of the return of the return.
yes, the return of the return. That's a good description of it because here's
You know
what happened.
what?
Uh, Mount Enterprise kicks the ball off. Um, the Chilton kid, Jamarian Clark, is that his name?
Yeah.
10.
Number 10,
Hmm.
takes off running, and he has a seam and busts it into Mount Enterprise territory round the 40-yard line for Mount Enterprise. This Mount Enterprise kid,
Yobani Rubio.
Yobani Rubio, runs into him And all of a sudden, he just takes the ball right away out of his hands, and he starts going the other direction. And you're like, what? And by the way, so this is always entertaining. I think all of y'all have at least been in press boxes where you've been maybe near other coaches or whatever. I was in the box with the Chilton coaches. It literally in the same room. And so I'm just quiet doing my work, but that's always A, entertaining, B, enlightening. I mean, plays sometimes, but before they're going to happen or whatever. You hear a lot of griping and cussing and why did he do that? We're not blocking that right, and I've got the Mount Enterprise coaches literally right a door over. So they're listening to each other, and picking up on things. Hey, they're gonna blitz, oh, it's so funny. But anyway, as that play is unfolding, we're all like, what? I mean, and so the kid took it 60 yards and scored, and so that's how the game starts for Chilton. To Chilton's credit, the next kickoff comes because now Mount Enterprise is kicking off again. They just scored a touchdown, and this time it's a more routine kickoff, and Chilton goes down in 6 plays and scores on a Xavier Taylor touchdown, and now it's it's 8-8. They both went for 2-point conversions. So you're like, okay, that's a good response by Chilton, especially the way the game started. But that was just too much Kagan Ash. He's fast, he's tough, and Chilton eventually just couldn't get out of its own way. Had some fumbles, and in the start of the second half, so it's 30-8 at halftime, Mount Enterprise, and I got a nice chunk of my story written at halftime. That's always beautiful. And then the Chilton coaches came back in the room, and one of them said, all right, we're going to have to – this third quarter is everything. We're going to have to come out in this third quarter hard. Well, the first 3 minutes of the third quarter,
fell in on them.
Mount Enterprise scored 3 touchdowns in less than 3 minutes because it was Kagan Ash, 50-something yard run. He goes and takes a seat for the rest of the night. Chilton fumble, and Mount Enterprise recovers it, runs it back for 40-something yards. And then on the ensuing kickoff, they fumble again. Mount Enterprise recovers, and then they break off a 40-something yard run with their backup running back.
Number 10, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a case of momentum just, getting away from them. And again, to their credit, they kept fighting, scored 3 more touchdowns, Chilton did, but
they've got a lot coming back. Took the seat for the rest of the night. Actually, he was out front blocking on that fumble return touchdown. Yeah. And he played a little bit more linebacker, probably not much. One thing I want to say about that kid, part of Texas Tech's upcoming recruiting class, and the way Texas Tech's recruiting has gone lately, it's kind of surprising that they would take a chance on a 2A player. But watching him, I mean, obviously he's got the rushing yards. I think his recruiting profile lists him as a linebacker, and you watch kind of the way he carries himself, the way like he just is in between plays, but then along with the physical dominance on plays, you can kind of see how, like, if you put him on the midway linebacking group, that he would be the best player on the field in a 6A game. You know?
Absolutely. I completely agree. The kid has all the gifts. He's gonna be a star at any level. So
also has a really nice football name,
Yeah.
He does.
Kagan Ash, yeah.
Bless the announcer at the announcer at camp. He was getting into it some of the time, and he was clueless some of the time. For a while, late in the second half, he kept calling him Keegan Cash.
Wow.
Maybe maybe Texas Tech fans could put little ash on their forehead.
Oh, yeah, it's Ash Saturday, right? Yeah. That, that's the future version of the current J-Rod Heisman campaign.
Not
I
sure
love
the
it.
I'm not sure the Catholics would approve, but
No.
We're
As
already
a
in a
former
tussle with Notre
Catholic, I do
Dame.
approve.
Tech's already in a tussle with Notre Dame, so
there you go.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
talked to Coach Hewitt after the game, and obviously, they were disappointed, but also proud of the season they put together. Big time bounce back season for Chilton. 10-2 they finish, and they got a lot coming back, including Marnico. They are hopeful. I asked after the game, I said, so will he be back in basketball season? And because we know Michael's talked about it, what a special basketball player he was at Ellison. And he goes, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He goes, it's just 6 months. And then he goes, I mean 6 weeks.
I was like, 6 months. Whoa.
Yeah, so 6 weeks, broken collarbone is what he's got. And
Man.
the bane of the football existence, the broken
yes, broken
collarbone.
collarbone.
Mm.
So hopefully we get to see him, later in district, or as Chilton's going in their basketball season. But Michael, you saw a state rank battle between Fairfield and Yoakum. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, this was quite the game. I'm curious for you guys. I mean, who were some of the? I mean, can y'all recall like freshmen who just completely dominate games? I mean, like in your time covering football, I mean, are there freshmen
Ooh.
that come to
London Smith.
mind?
Who?
London?
London Smith.
London Smith.
Okay,
Yeah, he was.
and,
He
and he
was.
was he's the one that came to mind for me in my short time covering the sport. But the reason why I asked that is because Jermarcus Robinson for Yoakum, this running back. I was told he has not even had his 15th birthday.
Oh,
And this
wow.
dude is unfreaking believable. I was like, my jaw was on the floor all night. Um, and it started early when he took a 77-yard run to the house on the second play of the game. And I mean, I wish I had video of it that I posted because like the speed is just like next level, and like there's a reason UTSA and Texas State have already offered this kid,
Ooh, like 5'9", 170 as a 14-year-old with that kind of
and
speed.
and dude, and he's like 14 or 15. I asked, so DJ got to see Ty Robinson. I got to talk to Bo Robinson, his brother, who Chad, by
Hmm.
the way, did play at Texas, defensive end. That was fun to kind of talk about with him. And I
I
asked
saw
Bo, I
Ty
was like,
Robinson. I didn't get to talk to Ty Robinson because
"Oh,
he
you didn't get to
was
talk to
off the
Ty?
field. I got lost
Gotcha."
in the huddle because I thought they were getting off the field, but they were getting in a circle to do jumping jacks.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's
happened to me
Chilton
funny.
did
before.
that
Yeah.
too. Chilton did that last night.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a
So
thing.
anyway, talk to Bo about it. He was like, honestly, I don't even know if he's 14 or 15, but he's pretty darn good. And I was like, yeah, he's pretty darn good. He finished with 297 yards, two touchdowns, 24 carries. He was the star of the show, but he would be the first one to say it. Bo would be the second one to say it. They do have a huge O line, this Yoakum team. So that was kind of the key for them. And whether it was Jermarcus Robinson or their wide receiver, Xavier Barnett, who was taking a lot of wildcat snaps for them, between those two in that backfield, Fairfield was just like Fairfield had no answer, guys. Like there, I mean, I talked to Coach Bechtel after, and he was like, "Yeah, man, we knew this was going to be a tough, rushing attack to stop." And in all honesty, as explosive as those two guys were, I thought Fairfield did a decent job, when it came to like majority of the plays, but it was just a few breaks that just bam, they just broke off and were to the house. And that's, that's a tough way to go out for Fairfield. This has kind of been a dream season for them. They were 11-0 going into this and had 21 seniors who, if you guys remember, last year lost to this Yoakum team in the very same round. And if you think back to week 2 when I saw these Fairfield Eagles play Mahia, a lot of these guys talked about the motivation coming off of last year, losing, earlier than they hoped and wanting to make a huge run, kind of similar to that 2013 team you guys saw. That was kind of the hope for this team. And It was a fantastic game. Fairfield was able to kind of get the passing game going late in the first quarter. One thing that puzzled me, and I did not follow up with Coach after this, but Fairfield was so like focused on running the ball early, and I've never really taken Fairfield as being a much of a running team this year. They can do it. They've shown they can do it. But like Cole Collins has been the star with all these receivers, that's kind of been their thing. And I'm not smart enough to look at a defense and think, well, maybe are they taking the pass away? Is that what they were doing? But they ran the ball on like 8 of their first 10 or something like that plays, and then I tweeted about
Maybe
it.
the idea was we know Yoakum's explosive.
Sure.
Let's keep it away from him as much as possible with some slow drives.
Certainly a possibility, but after I had tweeted that, of course, naturally they take a shot play and Cole Collins throws a 75-yard touchdown to Tylan Davis, not Tylenol, as I tweeted, thanks to autocorrect. So, but anyway, so it was kind of back and forth in that first half, and then
That'd be a good
I mean,
nickname, though.
that
Like,
would.
Oh, I tweeted at Michael and I said Tylenol Davis. I said, how did I not know about this kid?
That would have
He
been
would have
Super Centex
absolutely
all-name
been on my
team.
all-name team. And I was like, there's some built-in NIL opportunities here.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'll say where this game was won and lost, real quick. So there was actually a moment, as good as Yoakum was, kind of, running the ball early. They took a 14-0 lead. Fairfield had all of the momentum, I would say, early in the third. And what ended up happening was, Chad, if you remember that Midway Coppers Cove game you and I covered, it was
mhm.
similar to this in the sense of kind of back and forth, back and forth. I don't think Midway was ever necessarily down in that game, but anyway, in this Fairfield game, Fairfield ties it at 14-14. Yoakum takes a 21-14 lead, maybe midway through the second. Fairfield has a nice drive late in the second quarter where they not only score to make it 20 to hopefully tie, but they do this wild fake point after attempt to actually take a 22-21 lead going into the half. So it's like, whoa, and they were going to get the ball back in the third quarter. So it's like, dang, that's kind of a shift, after being down 14-0, now you're up 22-21 and you get the ball back in the third quarter. So that all happens. They get the ball in the third quarter and they score on that first drive. So it's like, okay, here we go. Like this is the Fairfield team. This is the 11-0 Fairfield team we thought, was gonna have a good chance to win this game. And that was the last points they scored, guys, because Yoakum from that point on just continued running the ball, and Yoakum's defense played very, very well as well. Forced a lot of punts. I would say the backbreaker of this game, where the game was officially lost for Fairfield, its offense was forced to punt in the third quarter, late in the third, and Cole Collins, who also is their punter, by the way, really good punter. I don't know if y'all have seen his punting numbers. He
Yes.
just he
Was
he
our
boots a
Super Centex punter last year. So
yeah, he boots a really, really good punt for Fairfield, that gets down to the 3 yard line for Yoakum. And you're thinking, okay, like that's a great punt, gives your defense a chance. On the first play, guys, Jamarcus Robinson takes a handoff, kind of up the gut, bounces it outside to the right, gone. 97-yard touchdown.
Ooh.
I'm serious, guys. I have not seen a freshman, maybe outside of London Smith, just completely like physically overwhelmed with his speed, athleticism, all of it. Like this guy is really special. I was
It's
so
exciting
shocked.
to think about because, when you talk about how young he is, and he's not small even now, it looks like
No,
5'9", 170, right?
he looked pretty big too. I mean,
Yeah,
he's a physical guy. Oh my
because
gosh.
while we were talking, I looked up, what Adrian Peterson was as an NFL player, and he was
Hmm.
6'1", 220. And
Yeah.
so when a kid's 14 and you look at that potential, because Adrian Peterson, I know he's had
Oh my
his
gosh.
trouble, but he was one of the all-time great high school players. And
yeah,
then,
and you never know
Hmm.
when a kid last growth spurt is coming.
Sure.
I had
Sure.
mine as a sophomore in high school, and
well,
so
exactly. And this kid is probably, a year or 2 years from now is probably looking at, I mean, I don't know anything about him. I just heard about him this morning, but if he's just barely 15 or almost 15, he could be 6'2",
Yeah.
220 or 230. And I mean, as
Gosh.
far as I know, you don't lose speed during that period of your life either, right?
And
So,
no, agreed. And he has an older brother who's a sophomore, who's a pretty good player on that team too.
mhm.
And what's the most staggering thing about this, I heard he has a younger brother too, who's in the eighth grade, who I'm
Mhm.
told like is just as explosive, fast, and just running around dudes at that level. So I'm just like, holy crap, this Yoakum team might be good for like 5 years. I mean,
Put a
Nice.
pin in that one, right?
yeah.
Uh,
So and yeah, tough
just a
tough way to
few.
go out for Fairfield, but
Yeah,
that was a
great
tough draw. That
season.
was a
Great
tough draw.
season.
Yeah.
Few rapid fire reactions because I want to leave a couple minutes here for volleyball, but some teams that we expected to win won: la-vega, Bremond. Hamilton did a good job moving on to the next round. Um, Obviously, some seasons that were good came to an end, like Robinson. China Spring had a big win last week and played with Lamarck for a while last night, but that season comes to an end for the Cougars. Um, Good win. We talked about how explosive Tom Bean's offense was. Axtell
Oh, yeah.
handled him just fine. The
Yeah.
Whitney Wildcats keep winning.
Yep.
Shout out David Haynes Jr. and Kobe and the whole gang there. So yeah, we've got some teams to cover next week, but real quickly, Chad and I were at the state volleyball tournament where we had 3 Central Texas teams playing. Actually covered 4 matches over the course of 3 days. I was doing some for the Eagle. I think I wrote 5 volleyball stories because I wrote one game for both teams. But anyway,
And saw some dang good karaoke on Thursday
shut
night
up!
as well.
It was not good. In fact, I later was texting with my fantasy football guys because they were asking me about my roller coaster of emotion watching the Texans, and I told them I only saw the very end of it. But I said I was in a bar, a very loud bar with some terrible karaoke, and then I said, "Wait a minute, that's a redundancy." Karaoke.
Well, one guy sang Patience. He sang Patience by Guns N' Roses. And I wanted to ask him, had you ever actually heard that song before?
Well, and this was what was so funny. I turned around and here I thought the guy was doing the whistling at the very start of the song. It's got an amazing whistling part where Axl Rose whistles, and I turned around and looked because my back was to the stage, and I was like, "Wow, this guy's pretty talented as a whistler." And Chad was like, "No, man," because he was facing the stage, and he said the guy would occasionally take a drink, and the whistling would keep going. So clearly, he was lip syncing the whistling
Wow.
to the track. But yes, wow, we're off the rails. Let me just shout out the
Volleyball matches.
Blum
That's what you
Lady
were talking about.
Cats. Lauren McPherson and her daughter Kinsley McPherson go out as state champions. It's the 3rd state championship in the last 4 years for Blum, and it's Lauren McPherson's last match as a coach. She will pass the reins to Emma Rodriguez, who is one of her former players. She's an assistant coach now. I think Emma will do a great job. She was like a libero on some of their state teams before.
Big shoes to fill.
One thing I wanted to point out, the verbiage that Coach McPherson used, I feel like in her post-game press conference, was she was stepping away because her daughter was going to be playing college volleyball.
Yes,
so
I think
that's kind of what Bryce talked about earlier in the week.
Yeah, I think there's always a chance that maybe she could come back and coach again. She's not that old, but yeah, I think she also, doesn't want to be in the way. I think she wants to give Emma the keys and let her go.
And she wants to be a mom. So.
And wants to be a mom,
and
she's earned that. Like go watch your daughter play college volleyball. That's fine. Great seasons for Crawford and for Clifton volleyball. Both of those teams ran into some tough teams that have a lot of power and size at the net. But both of them, I think Chad will agree, have the potential to be back next year.
Clifton only has 3 seniors.
Crawford loses 1 senior, Tatum Miller.
Wow.
And like you said, Clifton loses 3, but bring back a bunch of really good players like Bristol Wise and Madison Otter and Talia Davenport. So Chad and I saw Talia Davenport. There was one rally where it's back and forth, and she's on the ground and hits it from the floor, and it goes over the net. That was a nice play. But
that's another youngin who I think is going to be a real star.
She's a special athlete.
Yeah,
she can jump, man. Holy crap.
Yeah, she can really jump. And Chad said, I think we'll see her in track season.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, great seasons for all those teams. Getting to state, Blum winning state. And, yeah, we'll have Super Centex volleyball coming up here in a few weeks. But more football to talk next week. But appreciate all of y'all taking some time this morning. And I guess Chad just decided he's out.
Yeah. See you, Chad.
See ya. Later. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Have fun.